Good morning. I hope that you are well. It is the winter holidays in Durban, 2025. We are just 5 days away from July, where many people will be visiting their relatives and others will be visiting Etleni to thank the Lord for all the blessings that we've had uh, for the half of the year because surviving for 6 months in a world where there are a lot of conflicts between powerful nations and powerful personalities is itself a miracle, even to survive for a week. Because if countries which are fortified and are old civilizations like Iran are being destroyed, then it means that there is some problems that are happening. Even if Iran itself is not destroyed, but its military leaders who are high value targets are destroyed, then you ask yourself, if a high value target, a person on whom a lot has been invested and a lot of experience has been accrued, can be bombed by office goers, then how much trouble are you in as a person who's not even protected by a security guard? I would like to talk about what the old king Goodwill said when he was speaking about land. I think Zwelithini made a mistake by splitting Zulu into Zululand and the rest. For him to speak to Zulus as a general group, which is found everywhere in the world, but then speak to Amazulu from Zululand in a special manner or ngendlela ekhethekile. To me, that means that, of course, he's speaking to people who are close to him, but it also means that Zuluness is geographically located, meaning that if you are far away from Enyogeni, then you you have a different mission compared to people who are close to Enyogeni because they are also supposed to protect the royal household. But if you are outside of Enyogeni, you are outside of Zululand, uh, perhaps you just become an ambassador of Zulu. But of course, we know that ambassadors can be killed, whether socially or whether through a stratagem uh, to kill them. Of course, so meaning that if you are away from Enyogeni, you are at risk of being killed by enemies that you do not even know. But if you are in Enyogeni, you'll be killed by enemies that you know because Ulundi has been banned before. So as Amazulu, we have a history of having our capital city being banned. Of course, now our capital city is Pietermaritzburg, where all the legislations are passed. And fortunately, now with the government of provincial unity, we are seeing more legislation being passed. In the past, the ANC was not passing any legislation, which was a shame. But perhaps they were doing other things, maybe implementing policies of the ANC, not of the KwaZulu-Natal government, because a policy and an act is really the same thing. You create an act, and then the policy is how you're going to implement the provisions of that act. Of course, uh, King Zwelithini, being who he is, might have wanted that to happen for Amazulu who are outside of Enyogeni to be jealous and want to be in Enyogeni in the heat of the battle and in the heat of political development. Because, of course, Enyogeni is the most developed territory uh, politically, because that's where Isilo resides and that's where Mkosi Umhlanga is held, which is something that deals with regeneration and reproduction, and also something that deals with other social ills, including rapes. To say if a child has been raped and they no longer qualify to be the first wife of someone, how do you even compensate that? How do you even console that person and their family, particularly their father or their grandfather? Because not only have they lost an opportunity of creating long lasting friendships, but now they have an enemy who has uh, either impregnated their child without their consent, or just had sex with their child without their consent. So, meaning that in Zululand, consent is not only an individual thing, it can be a family thing and it can be a communal thing. Of course, if King Zwelithini divided Zululand uh, from the rest of AmaZulu, he was making a huge mistake because remember now, the rest of KwaZulu or Eslungwini, that's where there are resources because white people were investing in themselves. And we do not deny that England became powerful and then was able to swallow us. So in Zululand, there is one university, Ungoy. But in the rest of KwaZulu, there are so many universities, particularly the University of KwaZulu Natal with 5 campuses, perhaps with the 6 campuses if they build their business school in Mhlanga or in Balito, wherever they decide to put it. And then you will have Durban University of Technology with so many campuses, including 2 in Pietermaritzburg in the capital city. So meaning that people from Zululand should not even attempt to have an open conflict with people from the rest of Zululand, because even people who go to Stellenbosch, for example, and study military science, uh, and maybe perhaps they are from eThekwini, that person is also on the other side. So if there is a division which can lead to conflict and cutthroat competition between AmaZulu who have made it by being close to Enyokeni and AmaZulu who are just living their independent lives, which also respect the institution of traditional leadership and want to protect it from civil government, because civil government wants traditional leadership to be under it. But traditional government is supposed to be independent because the king is supposed to have powers that he has bestowed upon himself as a king after a process of electing him as a king, or after a war which he wins, or maybe a war which is won by a faction that favors him that he has nothing to do with. So a king can become a king through many means. Now, the problem is this: if you divide Zululand from the rest of Amazon, is that we have children who grow up in eThekwini, for example, or in Mgungundlovu, whom we know that their surname is dominant in Zululand. Let's say I have a nephew who is a Gumede. I can see that a Gumede cannot survive at UKZN because a Gumede is someone who should go to Ongoye, where the Gumedes have a kingship, or historically had a kingship, because that is where he will learn about not only academic things, but how to survive in his father's kingdom. But now, if there's an attitude that people who are outside of Zululand are the other Zulus, then how can I send him there? Because he won't have a good social experience, because he will be excluded from many things, being someone from Eslungwini. Even though he himself is not from the most advanced part of Eslungwini, if he was from there, he would not even himself want to go to Zululand, because he would want to go maybe study overseas uh, with his friends, because they have a consciousness of overseas and other universities who are high ranked internationally. Of course, when we are speaking about sending students to universities, now there are people who are left behind. even the Americans under President George Bush did not want even niggers to be left behind. They wanted even black people to be educated. Unlike in the past, where it was a crime for a black person to be educated because it was even impossible for him to know ABC. Uh, so George Bush really is the person who never changed the constitution of the USA, but tried to change the soul of the Negro to make the Negro educated in a Western way so that he can be an old white man from Europe, but being a nigger in America. Now, some of the people who are left behind might develop other means of survival. Now, I'll retell a story of when I was traveling to Zululand or through Zululand to the east of Africa. When we reached, I think that was in Ongoy, there were guys there. You can see that one of the guys is from the Dube tribe because I know Dube. The other guy may be a Shangan, an Austin person or something like that. Now, this Austin person says when I'm talking to them and not discussing general things and just taking a break at the garage, he says to Dube, let us rob this guy. And I can hear him. I'm smoking a cigarette at that time. And I ask myself, what kind of attitude can make a Zulu from Zululand want to rob a passerby? Because if you are a Zulu, you're supposed to be respectful because you don't know this person. Now you are telling him that you want to rob him. Now, if this person is an unreasonable person, you can die there where you are standing, and then you are history. And then I thought to myself, maybe these are people who were left behind who never went to universities, but instead went to Johannesburg to work and then maybe lost their jobs or maybe just had a bad experience of being robbed in Gauteng or in Johannesburg and they want to go and rob Zululand, which is a bad thing. And of course, when you are in Zululand, you have to be patient because the women of Zululand can deny you food even if you have money. They don't care if they are working for a white man or an Indian at a restaurant. If they don't like you, they're not going to sell anything to you. Even if it's not their food, it's not their store. They don't like you. They can find a reason and make you angry so that you become unreasonable and then the security guards will try to deal with you. But now you see the security guard is unarmed. So this person is denying me food, thinking that she is protected by someone who can't even protect himself from me. And of course, the drivers from East Africa are very friendly and they take you from where you are to where you want to go. And they are very patient, they even wait for you. Which reminds me of one of the survival ways in the city where you have shuttle services that take people to nature reserves, moving them away from the busyness and the anonymity of the city, uh, and also the artificiality of the city and the concreteness of the city to a place where there is vegetation, where there is wildlife, and where there is danger of dying from nature rather than from dying from a decaying civilization or new advances which humans have not tested before. Now, of course, when I reached East Africa, I went to Noto Nyao, and again he gave me 2 minutes to leave his house, and I went to Mavela. In Mavela, they will not assist you with anything because they also want to rob you. So, and then you ask yourself, how can people from East Africa, which is supposed to be the most pacific group of people, want to rob me? So, if they are not fighting wars, perhaps they are doing other things. They are pirates because they are close to the sea. So they take advantage of a person who is vulnerable and put him in more danger until a Benyera comes with women going to do his own things. Maybe Benyera is cheating on his wife, but he's helping me to move away from Mavela to my father's house. Not Nyao, but Mtetwa. Because Nyao has never been a prime minister of Zululand. But Mtetwa has not only been a prime minister of Zululand, but was an emperor of Zululand and was an emperor of King Shaka. So that's how you survive in Zululand, by identifying who's a king and who's a chief and a warlord. And of course, once I reached East Africa, I did not see any M23 members. But of course, I met Kweli Mfezi, who allowed me to teach him about the history of Obonjeni, where I've been and where I was sentenced for 13 years falsely by Mnoto Nyao and an officer Tembe. And that lady, that yellow bone lady, who is beautiful to be a police officer, but will not assist you with anything because Tembe will take you to where he wants to take you to sell you for 30,000 rands. And 30,000 rands is a lot of money when you look at it from a Ugandan perspective. But of course, now Kweli Mfezi also disappeared, and I was worried because he's from Johannesburg, and perhaps he thinks that when he's in East Africa, it's the same as being from Johannesburg. But being from Johannesburg means you are in a landlocked territory. But when you are from East Africa, there is a sea, there is an eastern sea, and it makes you aware that there are boats and there's vastness of water, and that there are perhaps other people on the other side. And of course, Kweli Mfezi was able to assist me to get a spear in Jozini on my way to East Africa. And unfortunately, even though we got our spear, but when I came back on my way back, I saw that that store had collapsed. Perhaps the stoop of that store had collapsed because of aging infrastructure in that town. Meaning that people of Zululand don't understand urban decay, that even if they were underdeveloped during apartheid, but they were developing at a slow pace. So meaning that even the things that they already gained must be protected and must be developed through gentrification, so that people who come from nicer places or territories will still have that portion of beauty whenever, even if they are in East Africa, or even if they are in Ejozini, which is we can call it a Central East Africa or something like that, because it's not in the coast, and it's in the Midlands, but Midlands which are close to the coast, unlike other Midlands which are very far from the coast, and you even forget that there is a sea, and you are happy even to see a dam. Uh, Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that this lecture will help you to be able to navigate life in Zululand and understand the conflicts that exist within the Zulus themselves, particularly the regionalization of Zululand itself by the former Isilo King Goodwill Zwelithini, son of Bheki Zulu. Thank you.